Hello everybody, I'm the Charbox Gamer. Welcome back to Minecraft. This is a peaceful run. I've made a little error in the editing. I know that in the last video that the outro was for the PS Tuesday segment and not the usual segment. I don't know how long that's been. Maybe it was just a last episode thing, but that was not meant to be. And I can go back and fix it, but I really don't care to fix it. I just want to point it out that I made a little mistake in the editing. If I were to make a guess, I assume I did that when it was late. It happened. It really happened. So, yeah, hopefully from now on I will have the right outro for the videos. Is it important? Not really. But I do like keeping things, like, in their own pattern. Again, the OCD really hitting me hard sometimes. So, going off that, because I didn't know where that was going to lead to, and I have no build-up at my friend Mad, we've all got together and we're playing this new game. It's not a video game. It's kind of like D&D, just with more roleplay. It's called City of Mist. With me is Anna, Side, and Rogue. Again, you don't really know Rogue because her video hasn't popped up yet, but she's a part of the PS Tuesdays team. And what City of Mist is that you have these characters that are based off of other characters, and we're solving a murder detective case. The thing is I don't recall the other characters' names. I just remember what mine was and who he was based off of. I play as a character called Chester Atkins, and the character he's based off on is the Cheshire Cat. So, unlike D&D where you make you still make rolls, but this one is more roleplay focused. So, to get into character, I think the first time around, I was actually pretty tired. I didn't have much time to practice for my character. I just went with go a little crazy, a little not too whimsical crazy, but like enough where your mind's a mystery. Now, one of his abilities is that he could make his body part either disappear or pop right off his body. That ability, I swear, I've overused in the game on the grounds on how funny it is and how broken it could be. So, the first time I used it was when we were going to a crime scene. Now, we had to get past the cops because, well, my character was kind of a suspect for the crime. To keep a long story short, the murder victim was my character's in-game friend, which was dropped to me on the spot. I had to come up with a name, which, I'm going to be honest, when I make characters, the hardest part of making the character is giving them a name. If a name's provided, that's great. If not, I'm going to be here for a minute. So, put on the spot and not wanting to be there for like 30 minutes trying to come up with a good name, I went with the first name that popped into mind when I was thinking about a friend, and I was all like, okay, my character's name is Chester, his best friend's name is Dexter. And then I was hit with give him a last name. I'm like, I don't give last names. I'm not good at last names. Curse you for making me like give out names. His last name's Richards. I don't know. Richard sounds like a common enough last name. Sounds like a normal, everyday last name. It's not too tied to D&D. Like, yeah, if it were D&D, I could make it some fantasy sounding name, but it ain't. It's like kind of in the real world, but not really in the real world, you know? So I had to go with the flow. Anyway, he got murdered. I was the last person seen with him, so I'm a prime suspect in this game. And we get there. We see that the outside has a bunch of cops. That's going to be a little problematic because, like I said, I'm a suspect. They're kind of expecting me to go meet them at the station, not at my friend's place. So what I do is I turn my arm invisible. I turn my leg invisible. I have another ability that lets me detach my limbs and let them like go off on their own free will. Well, free will, not really. I control what they do. So I basically have arm and leg go to the police car, and I have it drive off. During this part, though, some guy walks by me and just sees a dude without an arm and a leg. I turn to him, and I give a smile, and I'm like, Man, the war sucks, you know? Just to give an in-universe reason why I'm missing an arm and a leg. The guy freaks out, he runs off, and it's like, well, that wasn't the response I was expecting, but it works for me. Other uses of my little invisibility power that I love to overuse so much was later in the game, me and Rogue, we were going investigating the club's owner because we're kind of suspecting them of being involved in some shady business. While she's going looking through the whole like office, I stay back and I keep an eye out. I turn to my friend Matt and I'm like, okay, so this is how I'm gonna keep an eye out. I'm going to detach one of my eyes and I'm gonna have it float about. That way I could keep an eye out. Literally keep an eye out. So do I need to roll for stealth or... And he's like, it just happens. It just happens. It works. And when she's finally done investigating the room, I turn to her without any eyes. I'm like, did you find anything? Just empty voids looking right at her. And she's like, hey, when you do that, can you not do that? Like, look away. Don't look at me. I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll cover my eyes. You can't see it. Something along those lines, and I love getting into character for that part because it was funny just to mess with people. Typically, when we roleplay for games, I'm usually the nice character, the good character, and while that is my go-to, it's kind of refreshing playing someone who's kind of like more chaotic. He could be good, but I like the whole chaos angle. I am playing another character, this one being in D&D, so I'm more familiar with the rules. And again, a good character, but I am going with more neutral. I'm trying to aim to be more neutral in this game than my usual good guy kind of thing. He is a Fae. Oh, wow. That's the first time I actually cracked an egg and it popped out a chicken. There's a joke between Anna, Rogue, and I. It's that every time I throw out an egg, there's usually a good chance that a chicken's gonna pop out. It's happened more times than we can both count. I do know that when I was playing on the realms, I was exploring because my whole thing was looking for one of those cold chickens. And I finally found one, and I thought, you know, my luck with the eggs has been more or less very high. If I collect a couple eggs, go back to my base, and just like throw them, hatch them, hopefully it'll, you know, spawn one of them. But when I said that, Rogue kind of jokingly said, oh, you're not going to drag it all the way from this location to your location? Like a wimp? And I'm like, I already did that with a camel. I don't want to do this again, because before the update, the only place you could find a camel would be in like a desert village. I managed to find one that was like 2,000 clicks away from my place, and I had to grab the camel. Found like 2 of them, had to lead both of them from point A to point B, and it was a headache because I had to go through forests. Like, it was a lot of climbing, a lot of walking around that I had to deal with. But again, getting egged on, kind of getting a little joked about, got me going, you know what, fine, I'm gonna do this just out of spite now. So I took the chicken, took like 2 of them in a boat, and again, this was also like 2,000 clicks away from my home, so I was like, we're doing this. Put them in the boat, made myself another boat, just sailed from point A to point B, and kept going. And I think at one point, Anna actually came to help me because Rogue logged off. It was just her and I. We were going back and forth. Like, I was like, man, I really don't... I don't know how far I am. Like, I'm getting kind of tired of this. Because, again, it's like 2,000 clicks away, and I have to go, like, through mount... Like, I kind of avoid mounts if I have to drag a creature from point A to point B, like so, because it's, well, a headache. But I still had to go through forests, and that was also kind of a pain. Especially, it's a big pain when there's no water to just, like, sail about, so it's like... Anyway, she joined me, she helped me get from point A to point B. We got to, like, a location where I recognized her immediately. I was like, Oh my god, thank goodness I know this village. It has a power rail. All I just have to do is put these little chicks right in the rail, and it'll take them right to my base. No more sailing. No more nothing. Just put them in the rail, and then it goes back to my place. So I get them in the rail. Had a few issues with my rail because, well, wasn't acting nicely to me. Just leave it at that. Got them into the pen, and then I threw the eggs into the pen and see if it would actually spawn a little chicken. And I'm thankful I brought these little guys home, because when I did, oh, no chicken spawned from the eggs. And I was like, well, that would have been very disappointing if I did that and found that I had no chickens to work with. Was it hard work? Yes, but at least it paid off. Now that memory has been popped up and I shared it with everyone, I get back to what I was saying about my D&D character being a satyr. So, for this campaign, we're all starting at level 3, and I asked the DM, I was like, hey, can I be a level 1 and, like, can I multi-class, like, off the bat, my stats, like, go with it? And it's like, yeah, sure, you could do that. And I was like, can I have 3 classes if I go with it? Because typically with multi-classing, I don't really multi-class more than, like, 2 classes. I usually focus, like, on 2. This one I was going with 3 because his character, I wanted to have, like, a bit of monk in him, a bit of druid, and a bit of ranger. Now, his prime class will be the ranger class. That's his prime class. Monk was decided because it would give him, instead of strength saving, it'll be dex saving for his, physical attacks. And the reason for the whole druid thing was because I envisioned him to be a nature kind of guy, like he likes nature. That's where he lives. Granted, I could just said that for flavor wise, he's like a nature dude and not go for the druid thing. But the druid had like a couple things I kind of liked. Great food and water, I believe, was one of the spells he got. Let me double check. It was not create food or water. It was create water or create or destroy water. And then the food thing was good berry, which, okay, yeah, that was it. And if you're wondering how the naming went out, again, I'm never good with names for characters, and this time around, it's not, oh, you could just like name a Frank or something like that. You gotta have him with a Greek name or something like that. It's like, oh, great. Now I have a requirement to follow. So what I did was I just searched up like Greek names for D&D characters, and eventually I just kept scrolling until it said Tolas, and I was like, I'll go with Tolas. I'll go with Tolas. That sounds like a fun name. That sounds good enough. You know what? I think I like more playing as more of a supportive role than an actual like either tank or healer. Because with supportive roles, I feel like you could kind of be like versatile in those roles if you want it. Like, okay, as a ranger, I do have some spells that could mess with the enemy, and as a druid, I also have some spells that mess with the enemy, but with the supportive spells I have, it could benefit my friends. I mean, I have a few damage ones too, like, maybe not entirely damaged, but some that will mess with the enemies just a bit, and these are, we recently leveled up, so they're not from level 1 through 3, I think some are from 4. Let's see, I'm just gonna start from the very top. Now, some are from specific things, and thankfully D&D Beyond actually lists where you get them from. So, for the cantrips, the first one I got is Druid Craft, which came with Druid. Do I have to explain? So, the reason why I got this one, why I chose it, was because one of the abilities it comes with is called Weather Sensor. You create a tiny harmless sensory effect that predicts the weather that you'll be expecting in the next 24 hours. Now, for this campaign, I was told that a majority of the traveling was going to be done through open waters. So I figured that it'd be very useful to know what the weather conditions are going to be while we're navigating the ocean, because it would suck if we ran into like a rainstorm or something. And that's also why I grabbed good berry and create food and or water. Not create food and or water. Sorry, that's also a different spell. It's not the one I have. Create or destroy water. You can see why I grabbed that now, because if we're going to be out at sea, if we get lost, all I have to do is cast those 2 spells, and we will be fine on rations, at, for the very least. Next is Produce Flame, which I got with my Primal Order. All it does is really produce a flame. Now, it can light darkness, and that's very helpful because, well, I don't have dark vision. If I need to go around and need see, I could just produce flame. I also would say that in a different campaign, another one of my friends had this spell, and he made it look kind of fun to use, so I kind of grabbed it. The plus note is that it could be turned into a ranged attack on your turn. So say I summon flame, I could use it as an attack roll and hit somebody with it. So yeah, personally, I like this spell because it could be used both as a utility and as something that you could use to attack with. Now, it's also kind of cool because it's a cantrip. For those that don't know, spells in D&D are either cantrips or level spells. I mean, there's more to it than that, but I'm just trying to keep this simple. Cantrips require no spell slots. Leveled spells require spell slots, and typically they're more powerful than a cantrip. I think, if I recall correctly, spell slots are determined by your class and level of said class, while the stats tied to it, like for example, me being a ranger and a druid, our mutual spell casting ability is in wisdom. However, with the high wisdom that I have, it's not going to add to the spell slots. It's just going to add to the effectiveness of the spells I've cast. So, take Produce Flame as an example. Say that I activated it, bonus action, and then I used to attack an enemy. It gets a +5 to hit. That +5 is tied to my wisdom and my proficiency bonus. For my wisdom, I have 16, which, if you don't know, stats in D&D work kind of like this. 10 is your average. There's no added to it. It's a flat roll. And every 2 above 10 will give you a +1. My wisdom stat being 16 gives me a +3 to the attack, and then if you add my proficiency bonus, that's a +2, giving me a +5 in it. Now, not all spells are you just roll to hit, and it hits the enemy. Some, if they hit the enemy has to make a save for it. Again, the stat for me is going to be a +5 to the saving roll, so it's going to be a +5. They're going to have to be a 13 in whatever stat it's asking for. So, for example, the first spell that popped up for me would be, how did you get out? How did you get out? I don't know how you got out, but I'm going to put you back in. Oh, you got out because of the thing right there. I'm dumb. Anyway, while I'm gonna fix this real quick, I'll continue. So, with Thunderclap, the save is a con save of 13. If an enemy rolls and they either meet or beat 13, they don't get affected. I thought you fell off and were gonna die. I don't like you. I don't like you. You give me a headache. So, yes, that's with some spells that have the DC. If you're wondering where Thunderclap came from, with my background as a guide, you stay right there, okay? You stay right there. It gave me the feat Magic Initiate, which I chose Druid for, since I was going to go into being a Druid, like I wanted extra Druid spells. So, with that, I got Shillelagh and Thunderclap. Now, when I got Shillelagh, I was thinking it turns any weapon into, like, a magical powered weapon until I reread what it said. And apparently, it only works on quarterstaffs or clubs. And I was like, well, darn, there goes my scimitar idea. Oh well. I have enough funds to grab a quarterstaff or a club. It don't matter. I'm just gonna grab it and say that I collected it on my journey before. And just story, this was before the first session, so I could just make up whatever I want, as long as it's within reason, and as long as I have the money to do so. So I picked myself up a quarterstaff. I haven't used it yet, which is funny because we already been in a couple a couple sessions already. But I like to have it. The next spell is called Spare the Dying. This is a druid spell. With Spare the Dying, it says, basically, you see that creature that has 0 HP that's on the ground dying? Yeah, no, he ain't gonna die. He's gonna be stabilized. He's just gonna be out cold. you spare them from dying, as the name indicates. And again, I was going for more like, this is going to be for my friends, just in case they die. And the good thing about this is that it is a ranged spell. Ranged spells don't need you to be close up. If you're within range, you could cast it. For this, it's at 15 feet, which again, not that far, but if someone's 15 feet away and they're on the ground dying, it will save their life. And then we end the cantrip with Thunderclap, which I didn't go into. So Thunderclap is basically you make a clap, and everything that's 5 feet around you must make a con save, because if they don't, they take 1d6 thunder damage. Now, there is other variations of the spell that do a lot better. I think it's... I don't remember if it's Thunder Wave or it's something like that. Basically, what it does is that it would push back the enemy, but this one is not the variation. It does give them 1d6 damage, which does increase with the leveling up of the class that you had before. But currently, it's just there in case I get surrounded. And last time that I was playing, I was kind of surrounded by a bunch of enemies, so a thunderclap in that situation pretty much kind of helped me out. It didn't push them back, but it did cause some damage, so that's pretty nice. And that would be the last of the cantrips. Going off next will be the first level spells, which I only have up to first level spells, so we're going to have quite a bit of them. So, up first is called Absorb Elements. That's another druid spell. We rarely see a bunch of ranger spells, but that's because druids are full casters. Rangers are half casters. A full caster is going to have a lot more spells than a half caster. Now, Absorb Elements is a reaction spell. Reactions in D&D basically say that, hey, this happens off your turn, but you could do something about it. For example, if an enemy that's in your area, if they run away, you have the reaction to opportunity attack them. Absorb Elements, being an reaction spell, says, hey, they kind of hit you with this element, whether it's fire, thunder, or something along those lines. And I'll just read off what it says in D&D so I don't get it too mixed up. The spell captures some of the incoming energy, lessens its effect on you, and storing it for your next melee attack. You have resistance to the triggering damage type until the start of your next turn. Also, the first time you hit an enemy with a melee weapon on your next turn, the target takes an extra d6 of that element. So it's basically, you hit me with your stuff, I hit you back. The reason why I went with the spell, just because I thought it was cool. Felt like it'd be a fun spell to play with if I ever got the chance. I probably have got the chance, it's just, during sessions, if something happens, usually I do have a plan on what I'm going to do during the session. It's just, so there's always a change of plans, really, like, kind of messes me up sometimes. But going to the next spell, which is our first ranger spell, is actually Alarm. Alarm is also known as a ritual spell. Ritual spells you could do without using a spell slot. It just takes time, and this also has some components that you need to cast a spell, which will be a bell and silver wire. Now, with Alarm, it basically says, hey, if anybody gets in this area, it's going to sound an alarm and you're going to be alerted, which is great if you're trying not to get caught lacking. And again, that's kind of the reason why I grabbed it. I just grabbed Alarm on the ground that I really don't want to be caught lacking if we're going to sleep or anything. Like, I want to be kind of careful. Have we got to that point yet? No, but when we do, it's going to be, useful. Next up is Create or Destroy Water, which I think I've covered basically why I got it. It is a druid spell. Of course, it is. A lot of the spells have so far been druid. I think the only spells I have are 2 from Ranger. I only have 2 spells from Ranger, I believe. Which was Alarm, and which is the next one, Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds, if I haven't said how much I love Cure Wounds, it's a must-have for any class that casts magic, because it heals you. It keeps you alive, it keeps your friends alive. It's my go-to spell list to have when I get a, new character. So Cure Wounds, best spell in my opinion. At least, you know, best healing spell. I think later down the line, if you get higher levels, you have greater Cure Wounds, which basically does it at a greater level. But for starters, Cure Wounds is always my go-to. Up next is something called Entangled. Now, this is another one of those spells that requires the enemy to make a save. What Entangled does, it creates a bunch of plants that just sprout from the ground in a 20-foot radius, it being a square radius, and if they are caught, if they fail the strength save, they are in the restrained condition. Basically, restrained condition, any attacks on that character will be advantage. Which, if you capture a bunch of enemies, that's good for you. I think a last session or two, I did use it for a big attack, but one of my friends who was a very tanky guy, I'm kind of shocked he failed the strength save, got caught in it, and he was also captured, but a couple enemies were capturing it too, so I figured, I thought what he was going to do was he was going to try to escape during like one of his turns. It would have been at disadvantage sadly, but he just kept attacking. I figured that he would at one point break out, but no, he just kept going. Eventually, I dropped down the ground that it was kind of doing more harm than good at a certain point. It was like, okay, you know what? Dropping it, our tank's free, he can now attack. After Entangled, it's Goodberry, which again, I think I've kind of explained why I went with Goodberry. I don't need to go into details. It just makes food for you. So we'll pass that. This spell is actually quite new. I think it's the one I got for leveling up my ranger. It's called Hello Thorns. Okay, it's another save DC, this time with Dex. So, casting, it's a bonus action you take after you're hitting a creature with a ranged weapon. The target of the attack and each creature within 5 feet of it must make a Dex saving roll and taking 1d10 piercing damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful save. Oh, wow. So basically, if I were to hit an enemy with that attack with a ranged weapon, use that spell on said enemy, if they were to beat my 13, say they get like a 14 or they actually get 13 on the dot, then even though they saved from that spell's full effect, they're still going to take a little bit of damage. So, say if I'm lucky and I hit them with max damage being a 10, they're only going to take 5, which again, not much, but it's still some damage, which if you're fighting a bunch of enemies, some damage is better than no damage. Up next is Huntress Mark, which is tied to my Ranger's ability called Favorite Enemy. With that little feat that I have, I could use this 2 times for free before I use it for a spell slot. Huntress Mark basically says, hey, you see that enemy over there? You concentrate on that enemy. Every time that you hit that enemy with your attack, you do an extra 1d6 damage to them. Say you get your enemy down or you know they are out of the situation, you could use your bonus action to move the mark to a different enemy. Which, if you're thinking that sounds pretty good, you're right, it is pretty good. The catch is, with concentration spells, you gotta focus on the spell. So if you were to get hit, you're gonna have to roll a con save to see if it keeps up. If you don't, the spell is dropped. Other than Huntress Mark, I think the only other spell that's concentration is Entangled, which again, if you get hit and you don't meet the DC of it being saved, then it's gone. Yeah, you could also drop the spells at will, which I think not last session, but the session before, I kind of forgot about that, and I kept up Entangled for quite some time, and the only time that I did drop it was on my turn, which I was told, hey, you could have dropped that at any time, you know? And I was like, I forgot. I feel kind of like a nerd. Whoops. Yeah, that was embarrassing, but the next spell that pops up is called Ice Knife. Again, another spell that pops up with the Magic Initiative under Druid, and for this one, if you're wondering what that does, so Magic Initiative takes 2 cantrips and 1 spell slot from whatever class that you picked. I got that from my guide background, which with Ice Knife, let's see what it does. You create a shard of ice and fling it at one creature within range. You make a spell attack against the target. On a hit, it takes 1d10 piercing damage. Hit or miss, the shard then explodes. The target and each creature within I was about to say 15 feet, within 5 feet of it must make a dex save or take 2d6 cold damage, which, okay, that's pretty good, but it's not save or suck. It's, if they actually save, they don't get hurt. But still a good spell to have. Seeing that we're at the very end of the video, I might as well wrap this up. The last spell I have, which is from my Druid class, is Speak with Animal, and it's as it kind of indicates, you could speak with animals. With that being said, see you next time. Take care, please like and subscribe, and have a great day.